I think it is a very important thing and very positive in the sense, that, this arrangement of business to business, and government to business interaction, where people, meet, business leaders and government leaders sit down to discuss and see how we can partner to, develop the continent. So I think it is a good thing. We have not been seeing quite a lot of this. And this time around, what I'm seeing here in Sharm el Sheikh is the fact that there are so many, investors, so many CEOs, and quite a lot of, political leaders and heads of state. So I think this kind of arrangement, is very important in the sense, that you can get quite a number of people to sit down under one roof, and discuss how we can develop, Africa. So for me, it is an important thing, and I'm quite excited because you don't really get to meet a lot of people, like that in one place. So I think it's good, and we should be, actually doing more of this.
And that, I suppose, speaks to the essence of the deal rooms that we are seeing now. Speak to me on what you think of the nature and the fact that we're having rising deal rooms arrangements across conferences in Africa.
That is another, good development, because what I'm seeing is that, if you look at, the AFDB conference in Joburg, 2 weeks ago, there were deals of probably, I understand, over $40 billion, achieved, just within the day room. So I think what is happening is that because, it is quite challenging, for people to try and get all these, DFIs, different DFIs, to do deals, in different parts of Africa. So when they have this kind of arrangement where you have, DFIs, businesses, leaders, you can all sit down and make deals, arrange deals, and in fact, even sign deals within a very short period of time. So I think it's a good thing. I have seen quite a lot of that, happening in the last, few months. We saw AFDB in Joburg. There was the CEO Africa Forum also, and of course there is this. So we look forward to, actually seeing what is going to happen here. But I'm sure, a lot of deals also could be achieved, during this conference. So I think it's a good development.
Now, much of the conversations at this conference will also center around fostering regional integration through investments and cross-border collaborations. What is that to you as an investor?
To be honest, that is, something that I have been looking forward to discuss here at this forum. Because you see, what it is that in Africa here, we have a lot of, resources in different countries. And we have a situation where, for example, we have resources, say, in Niger Republic that we could actually use in Nigeria, but there isn't that collaboration. So if, a situation, could happen where, for example, we have resources in Niger and we have, the, capacity, say, in Nigeria to go and develop those resources and be able to use, within the two countries. I'll give you an example. In Niger Republic, they are sitting on a lot of phosphate, which we don't have much of that in Nigeria. And one of our plants, cement plants in Nigeria, in Sokoto, is just about 100 kilometers away from Niger Republic. And limestone is one of the ingredients you use, and of course phosphate, to produce fertilizer. So if, for example, we're able to use the phosphate in Niger Republic using the limestone that we have in Nigeria, in Sokoto, which is only about 100 to 150 kilometers away from Niger Republic, we would be able to produce millions of tons of fertilizer, something that we import into Nigeria all the time. So these are the kind of things, that we need to try and see if we can develop. It is not easy, it's very challenging, but if, this kind of forum could provide the platform to discuss, between the businesses and the leaders.
I'd like you to shed more light on the factors that that are currently working against or getting in the way of a more fluid collaboration, cross-border collaboration in such an arrangement, like the example you just gave.
Yes, one, policies. For example, if, I have a plant in Nigeria and I want to replicate that, say, for example, in Niger Republic or in any of these countries, it is very difficult, because, the issue of, protecting local industries has always been there. But to me, I think it is important, if the government could sit down and say, okay, what is it that we don't have that maybe we can use other countries to come and develop in our country? So there are a lot of challenges, policies and trying to protect, industries locally, But that to me, I think is not really, a positive thing, because if you have resources and you cannot use those resources and you have another, investor from another country that could come, and I think it should be allowed. But we don't see, that happening at all. These are some of the things that really need to be discussed and see how we can collaborate and then see how we can assist, each other. I tell you, give you an example. We have, as I said, our cement plant in Sokoto State, which is about 150 to 200 kilometers away from Niger Republic. Whenever we want to try and export into Niger Republic, there are so many issues we have to pay, a lot of taxes, the borders are always, a lot of, to the extent that sometimes we feel really it's not even worth doing. But if the government can come and sit down and say, okay, how do we support these industries? Because at the end of the day, we are helping each other, and as I said, there are, areas where, we can collaborate together, where we use resources, of Niger Republic and, also resources from, Nigeria, and try and partner together and come up with, industries or things, that will help each other. And I think that is key. That is very, very important, because in Africa, there are a lot of, potentials, a lot of opportunities that we can use. Yes,
I know that BUA did make some strides in the year 2017. I'd like you to talk us through some expansion strategies to look out for from the company in the coming year.
We are commissioning the second Edo line, 3 million tons, God willing, in January. And we are going to make an announcement. We are going to do a third line in Sokoto. This is going to happen maybe in the first quarter of, next year. So we are doing that as well. By the time we are done with the, third line in Sokoto, as a matter of fact, from next year when we commission the third line, the second line of Edo, we are going to be at over 8 million tons per annum. And that, we are going to be the second largest cement producers in Nigeria once we commission that. So we really are very excited and looking forward to that.